Okay, I guess we're good to go. My name is Andrea Helms, and this is as good as my voice is gonna get. Because when we get to that part of the story, you'll learn that I only have one vocal cord. So, hopefully you can understand me. My voice is a lot stronger than it used to be, and that's a really good thing. I am 34 years old, and I live in a small town in Alabama, the town I grew up in. And just to introduce myself a little bit, I have a husband, Jeff, and I have two beautiful children. The second one I was pregnant with when my dissection happened. My family has no history of any kind of aortic dissections or any kind of disconnected tissue issues, nothing like that, like no Marfans that we know of, anything. Just to back up a little bit to further explain my story, my little girl, I took her home from the hospital. She's actually adopted because through two separate rounds of fertility, treatments and issues, I pretty much just accepted that I couldn't have children. So, like I said, my little girl, took her home from the hospital. She's absolutely amazing. Our first miracle. She's 6. And I met my husband when she was 18 months old, and we've been together ever since. And he's incredible. He had never been married, doesn't have any previous children, and he fell in love with me, fell in love with her, and we got married pretty quickly. It's pretty much a whirlwind love story, and he took on the challenge of raising a really spunky, sassy little girl. So Jeff and I had tried fertility once before in my first marriage, and it was unsuccessful. I tried for 6 years, prayed for 6 years before Bo came along, and but I thought, well, maybe we can try this one more time. So we tried for several months, and we're very disappointed. It was really stressful, and finally he was just like, Andrea, I love you and I love Bo. I couldn't love another child any more than I love Bo, so we will just, have an only child, and when she grows up, we'll retire and we'll buy that RV you've always wanted, and we'll travel the world, and because I love to go places, and I've always been a really good big go-getter. I like to go and do things. I teach school. I taught 8th grade for 6 years at a private Christian school, English. I graduated from Huntington with my English degree from Huntington College in Montgomery. It's a private Christian college. Really beautiful campus if you're ever in Montgomery, Alabama. And so I went straight out of college to teaching 8th grade honors English, like I said, and I taught that for 6 years. And for the last 4 of those years, I went to law school at night in Birmingham, which was about an hour and a half drive one way from where I live. And so I went to law school, got my law degree, and I went to doing like some contracts and lease type work for some friends of ours. And I did that for a little while, and I just really felt like the Lord was calling on me to work with children. I think that that's really my passion in life. I missed working with children, and so the job that I currently have came open, being pretty much the countywide director of the at-risk program, the countywide teacher, really, I guess is what you say. And at-risk meaning like kids ages from 9th to 12th grade who are at risk for dropping out of school. And so I took that job, and it's by far one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I love it. I love my kids. That's always been a huge part of who I am, honestly, for the past years. Next year will be 6 years that I've been at that job. So I absolutely love it. It's almost like I have extra children that aren't mine anyway. But back to what I was saying about Jeff and I. So we went through fertility. We were unsuccessful with that. And last Christmas, our little girl, Bo, she asked for, we had a running joke because she asked for a real iPhone and a baby sister. And we had a joke saying she was going to have a really disappointing Christmas because she definitely wasn't getting an iPhone. you know, at age 5. No. And we couldn't have a baby sister, so we said, baby, hopefully you'll be happy with what Santa brings you, because he's not going to bring you either one of those things. Well, come to find out, the second week in January, we were totally floored to find out that we were pregnant. And didn't know it was possible, didn't know it was feasible, weren't trying. So we find out that I'm pregnant, and we had a little scare at the beginning of pregnancy, but after that it was pretty much smooth sailing. And I detail all of this in the book that I'm writing currently, called Everyday Center. But anyway, so we had no issues, and we were so excited. Everybody in the community's been excited for us, our church family, our families, everybody's just ecstatic. We come home, we tell Bo Grayson that we're going to have a baby, and she says, without hesitation, totally straight face, you know, it's a boy. And we were like, well, how do you know that? Because you asked for a sister. And she said, no, it's a boy. And I'm telling you, we just have always said that she has like a direct connection to God. I mean, that child just, the things that she says and stuff, sometimes that's the only explanation we can have for it. So, but I was 25 weeks pregnant on May 29th, and I slept with a mound of pillows like a lot of pregnant women do, you know, all the way around me. I actually had one of those big U-shaped pillows, and my husband named him Jody, if you know the old saying about Jody, anyway. So, like there was another man sleeping in the bed with us, but, because it's huge, and it's the only way I could get comfortable. But, so I rolled over onto my pillow, and I felt this sharp pain from my back to my chest, and it was unlike anything I had ever felt. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have torn a muscle in my back. And so I stand up, and when I stood up, I couldn't breathe. And it took a couple of steps, and the pain just kept getting worse, and literally my feet went out from under me. I screamed for my husband one time, and after that I was just heaving for breath because I couldn't breathe. He came and checked on me on the floor. I started pouring sweat. We sleep with a fan every night. I don't know if it's a southern thing or what, but whether it is freezing cold outside, my husband has to have that fan going. So he puts the fan down on the floor, blowing on me, and I'm trying to breathe. I can't lay down. When I lay down, it hurts even worse. He calls an ambulance, tells them my wife is, you know, almost 6 months pregnant, and she's in extreme chest pain. She can't breathe. So they came and got me, and they took me to Floyd, which is in Rome, which is about 40 minutes from where we live, because that's where my OB is. And they took me there, and I was in the emergency room for about 2.5 hours. I was in so much pain that I couldn't sit down, couldn't lay down. I stood up with my head propped like this up against the wall. They ran tests. They checked for my gallbladder. They checked to make sure I didn't have a blood clot in my legs. X-rays, everything they could possibly think of, and they just couldn't find what was wrong with me. No clue. And my doctor there, who was a precious, wonderful, godly man, and I'll get to him further on in the story again, but he, Dr. Jackson, he called Dr. Marion, who was my OB upstairs, or one of my OBs. There's a group of them, and they're all fabulous, but and he said, I'm going to send this girl up to labor and delivery because we don't know what's wrong with her. We can't get her comfortable. We've run all these tests. So they sent me up there. They got me situated with some Stadol finally, and my blood pressure started to come down because it was up in the 220s over like 112 at that point. And so she decided to have a CT chest scan done. And when she did, the vascular doctor on call and she both called Dr. Jackson, and they said, you're not going to believe what we found. And it was something none of them had ever seen in person before. And I'll never forget her coming into the room, and I was, at this point, you know, I was pretty medicated, so I was kind of in and out. I was feeling a lot better because my body had just been under so much strain in those 2.5 hours. At this point, probably 3 or 3.5, from being in so much physical pain that I was just kind of drifting in and out. So, but she came in and she told us what it was, that I had a aortic dissection and an aneurysm in my aorta, and her telling my husband that he was going to have some, you know, large choices to make. They were going to take me to Emory. They were trying to get a helicopter, but the weather was bad. So they were going to get an ambulance and send a nurse practitioner with me on the ambulance there. Because at this point they start pumping blood pressure medicines into me to keep my blood pressure as low as possible, along with the Stadol, just to keep my pain down. And so, you know, they proceed to tell him, you know, you understand what kind of choices we're talking about. You know, you need to decide if you know, at this point, is your wife priority, is your baby priority. And my poor husband, who drives a race car, by the way, he's about as manly of a man as you could ever imagine. You know, I've never seen him tear up before, never seen him get upset about anything. And he literally, like, puts his head in his hands and just starts sobbing, you know. And I think it really hit me then, like, how serious it was. And so they got me to Emory in an ambulance. When we got there, there was this little tiny C-section crash cart outside of the ICU room, because they were waiting there for me, and they were prepared to take our baby. And when I got there, miraculously, all my organs were still perfusing blood. My aorta was still perfusing blood to all my organs. And so they waited till in the morning, still keeping my blood pressure as low as possible. And when the next morning I woke up and I had these teams of doctors all around my room. The entire ICU room was just completely full. It was really overwhelming. I have anxiety anyway, and they were all talking over each other. I'm talking about some of the most brilliant doctors, you know, around. I mean, they all taught their field of medicine, you know, so at Emory, because it is a teaching hospital. And so they're all talking over each other, trying to decide what's the best plan for me and for our baby. And they give us all these options. And finally, one of them realized that it was overwhelming to me, so they go out in the hall. And they all discuss, and then each team leader came in and talked to me and my husband one at a time after that. We decided, after lots of prayer, that, and of course this is a very summarized version, we decided after lots of prayer that my organs were still miraculously being, you know, perfused blood to. So we thought, you know what, okay, Lord, we're going to see what you can do. We're going to put this in your hands. We're going to put my life in your hands, this baby's life in your hands, and we're going to see what you can do. And so that's what we did. And they admitted me into the hospital, and I stayed in ICU for a while until they got my blood pressure medically managed under control. And then they put me on the antepartum wing, and I stayed in the hospital for 81 days. Our first goal was to make it to 28 weeks. I went up to perinatal twice a week to start with. They did ultrasounds twice a week to start with, and then once they saw that the baby was, you know, still doing okay, then they changed it to once a week, where I didn't have to go as frequently. And so we made it to 28 weeks, and then we made it to 29 weeks, and then 30 weeks. And of course, like I said, this is very summarized. Along the way, I had to go back to cardiac ICU for a few days here and there, because, you know, with aortic dissections, I would have blood pressure spikes, and, you know, we couldn't really get the medicine just right. But finally, Dr. Gangora, who was a doctor up in the cardiac ICU, she got my blood pressure medicine to where it would kind of level me out. And I got to the point of being at 32 weeks, and they finally told me up in perinatal at my weekly visit, they said, you know, when you get to 34 weeks, that's it. The risk to your body is just way greater than the risk to your baby at this point. And so, speaking of, I hear him, so I'm going to have to go in just a second. But long story short, at 33 weeks, 6 days, that was the day that my cardiothoracic surgeon was available. So that was the day that we had to go. I had around 21 doctors in a OR room to do my C-section. And everybody took this huge breath of relief, you know, when they finished it, and he was out and he was healthy, and, you know, and I was okay. My aneurysm hadn't ruptured, and they put a line in my groin just to make sure, just in case they had to go in and do something, you know, during the C-section, but they didn't. And we had prayed specifically because to start with, he wasn't growing. And every week we would go, and on the ultrasound, he wasn't growing. And finally, 2 weeks before when he had his C-section, he had grown up to 3 pounds, and we prayed specifically, Lord, please let this baby be 5 pounds. Please let his lungs be okay. Please let these steroid shots that they've given me work, and please just let there be no other explanation other than, you know, your miracles for why this baby comes out as healthy as he does after all that my body's been through and all he's been through. And he literally came out screaming, healthy lungs, 5 pounds on the dot, not 4 pounds, some odd ounces, not 5 pounds, 1 ounce. He came out 5 pounds. So praise Jesus, we know that that is just an answer to prayer. Our existence is an answer to prayer. But so he was born, and I had to, of course, go to ICU. They wheeled him over to me for a second to see him, and he had his little CPAP machine on his face, so I didn't really get to see his face. But when he was a couple of days old, I got to go. They wheeled me to the NICU to see him. And we can both continue to recover, and it kind of got to a point where they told me my tissue at that point was too soft to do anything, and they thought that I could medically manage it for a little while. So it pretty much got to a point of, we can't do anything else for you. So here, go home. Take these like 37 pills a day, and you know, let us know. And we said, well, we live on a farm, and we live out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we have a wonderful hospital here, don't get me wrong, but it's very small, and they're not set up to do anything to help me if something happens. And our closest hospital, you know, they sent me to you guys. So, but they said, well, you know, you just, if something happens, go to your hospital, and you know, so, we were upset, and we were a little frustrated, but I know now that it all, you know, was part of the Lord's plan, because our son was still in NICU, and I was literally in the NICU holding him one afternoon, and we were supposed to go home the next day. My husband and I had just finished our CPR class that night to take him home the next day, and I felt these sharp pains through my chest. It wasn't like before, it was a little different, but I felt the sharp pains through my chest, and I started seeing spectrums, just all different color prisms. So they called down to the ER, they came and got me, and they took me down to the ER, and after, you know, CT scan and the whole rundown of which I, you know, had done before, they came and told me, we're so sorry, Miss Helms, but your dissection has gone from a type B dissection to a type A dissection. It's gone all the way to your heart. So they told me in summarized version that they were going to take me to the other Emory Hospital, Emory St. Joseph. Dr. Shin was on duty. He was known for his aortic work, and they were going to do emergency open heart surgery. And I'm a pictures person. Our NICU nurse brought our baby down for me to literally tell him goodbye, because we didn't know if I was ever going to see him again. I knew then how serious it was, because I didn't request that. They just did it on their own. But this is a picture that she took when they brought him down, and I keep it on my fireplace just to remind me how lucky I am for each day. My surgery took about 6.5 hours. I was off the ventilator in 3 hours, which is amazing. And I'm going to have to go check on my baby. But long story short, a week later I got to come home, and I've been home. I have had some other issues since then. They found another dissection in my right carotid, which healed itself from the bottom up. Those of you who are on this page are all very familiar, as we are. You've done your research, and so you know that doesn't happen just like our doctors did. But you know, it's prayers only answer we have for it. I have a small hematoma left from it, from where it healed itself from the bottom up. And then, you know, I've had some problems. I ended up back in the hospital actually last weekend, and Dr. Jackson was on duty again. I told you that he would come back into play. They all knew me by name. The good thing about having all this is that when you show up at the hospital, they let you go right back. You don't have to wait anymore. But so they did another scan, and comes to find out I had carotidynia, which is I guess it's a rare syndrome. What else would you expect at this point, you know? Which causes you to have pain in your neck and in your carotids up to your head, and it's kind of like having migraines. Along the same lines. But so I have that. So I spent a couple of days in the hospital, got to come home to my babies, and these are my babies. I was going to show you. These are my sweet babies. Both of them miracles. My sweet little miracle boy, he's so happy. He's not happy right now because he's hungry. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to feed him. But I'm excited to be part of this, and I'm honored to be chosen to be part of this. And I can't wait to get to know all of you more. Thanks. Okay.
Now,
let's see here. This is take 2. As you can see, little man got to eat and he's happy. He's at that age to where if he's hungry, he doesn't want the babysitter and he doesn't want daddy, he wants mommy. So these are my 2 precious babies. And what I was saying was I only have 1 vocal cord because when they did my open heart surgery, one of them accidentally got nicked. And so, you know, that's been a kind of a struggle for me. My voice is so much better than it was. To start with, it was just a whisper. He's getting a bottom tooth, as you can see. But, but anyway, they nicked one of my vocal cords.
he got a sticky diaper.
Bo Grayson, why don't you tell them what happened to Mommy's heart? This is how Bo Grayson will explain it to you. A lot of people want to know how with your children, you know, she can explain to you what happened.
Her heart broke. They had to cut in her heart.
Why?
Cause my mama had surgery and she had to get shots.
I did have to get shots because I had your Bubba in my tummy, right?
And Bubba had to get shots too.
He did, and you came to visit us in the hospital, didn't you?
Yeah.
Every week she came to visit us, and that was the absolute worst part of all of it was having to be away from her because you know, she's my little miracle, and literally she's been stuck to me like glue since she's been born. So being, you know, we live 2.5 hours away from Emory, and so 3 hours in traffic, being that far away from her was terrible. But other than that, the issues with my vocal cords, and then I also have a nerve issue in my first finger that comes and goes, and it's from having my the bypass scar incision in my shoulder. And so you showing them your brother. I've already showed them your brother, but you can show them again. She's really proud of her brother.
Is when Bubba was born. You see, he was born.
He was a little. He had been born for a little bit. That was the night that Mommy called you.
And this is when me and him got our picture together.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So, but we thank Jesus every day for saving Mommy and saving Bubba, and
taking care of Mommy and Bubba and their nurses.
That's right, and we thank Him for their nurses and the doctors. And I see a vascular specialist here close to home every other week, and he just keeps check on my blood pressure medicine. I know that tooth's coming in and it's bothering him.
And I got a gone tooth.
And she's lost 2 teeth. He's getting teeth and she's losing teeth. So
yeah, because when I did this to him, I felt a tick blowing up.
Oh, wow, another one? All right. Oh, and he's talking to you, too.
Yeah.
So you're just getting all of us today, minus Daddy. Daddy's still at work. So
yeah. And Pop's still at the shop, I guess. And Mims is at home, I think.
Yeah, she's not shy at all, if you didn't pick up on that. So, so I see my vascular specialist. He's actually the one who found the dissection in my carotid when they sent me immediately back to Emory. This is all, like I said, very summarized. We've had lots of trips back and forth to the doctor. But I'm not working. I'm very fortunate to have wonderful coworkers in the county and across the state who donated sick days to me so that I could stay home with my babies, because right now there's no way I would be physically able to. Just to be able to get up and do simple things like laundry, as all of you know who have had a dissection, it completely wears me out. And so I decided when I came home that the Lord...
Yeah, I got a tattoo.
She did today. That the Lord, I feel like His purpose for me, His number one purpose is to take care of my babies and to take care of my husband. And my family should get my energy before anybody else. And so I'm very unapologetic about that. But I save all my energy every day for them. If it means that I have to take a 2 or 3 hour nap so that I can be available for her when she gets home from kindergarten, because she started school this year, then then that's what it means, you know. So everything else has kind of been put on hold right now. I don't know when I'll be able to go back to work. I found out that my carotidinea is, it was caused recently from just stress-induced blood pressure spikes. You know, I try not to harp on the negative and try to be positive and just be thankful for what I have every day and thankful for our little family. And that's probably the gist of it. We go back in February.
And this is me and Bubba again.
It is you and your brother again, and they're so cute. We go back in February for another scan, and then I am having surgery in March to repair my vocal cord.
Here's Mommy and Daddy and Bubba again.
That's right.
See?
And that's where we are. I mean, we just live.
And this is Bubba by himself again.
It is Bubba by himself. You're right. We just take life one day at a time, and we are just thankful to be together, and we're very thankful this Christmas to have each other. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. I love you too, baby. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and lots of prayers and blessings to all of you. Bye. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Say bye, Jet. Say bye.
Bye. Bye.